Bonjour, Kinamagi Nene Ireland edition Nikas, and welcome to today's production of the My Math Network. Today's episode, Chapter 9, Lesson 6, Hands-On, using models to subtract unlike fractions. And you can see that we were adding and writing each sum in simplest form. Some of the tricks include finding the least common multiple of 8 and 10, which in fact is 40. Or some students may choose to multiply 8 times 10 and just go for the simplest form from there. In this case, 40 is a reasonable one, and you ended up with 37 40ths. There is nothing that goes both into 37 and 40, so the answer is complete there. Here we have 3/5 plus 1/4, 17 20ths. Nothing you can simplify there. 20 is the least common multiple of 5 and 4. The least common multiple of 7 and 8 is 56, and you end up multiplying this side by 8 and this side by 7, and you get 39 56. Oh, make sure, though, that you never add the denominators. We find, well, it doesn't give us our steps. We find the equivalent fractions using the least common multiple of the denominators. We do our multiplying of those to get the like fractions, and then we just add and then simplify. 1/3 plus 3/8 is 17 24ths. 3 and 8, the least common multiple is 24. We have 3/4 and 1/8. The least common multiple of 4 and 8 is 8 because 4 goes into 8. And we end up with 7/8. 1/5 and 1/2. The least common multiple of 2 and 5 is 10. Going through here, you may notice that the least common multiple is always at least as large as the larger of the denominators, because we are skip counting essentially. If we were doing 5 and 2, 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4, 2 times 5, 5 times 1, 5 times 2 before you get to that answer. You never need to, if you're making the list of numbers to find it, you never have to go beyond the 2 times 5, because we know that because they are you could multiply them at 2 times 5, that 2 times 6 is going to be beyond something that both 2 and 5 go into. If you have further questions on this assignment, please see me at a convenient time. Let's look at today's assignment. We're going to be using models to subtract unlike fractions. Again, you will see the posting for our fraction tiles here, your fraction strips. So you don't actually need to go and find Miss Spickerman's pocket. But if you have some at home, feel free to use them. Essentially today, we're going to find each difference using the fraction tiles. And these ones are drawn there for you, so you can use those. And over here, it says use math tools, draw fraction tiles to help you solve. You may draw them. I recommend that you use these because, in all honesty, it'll tell you whether they fit. You can look and say, well, one is in fact 3/3. I can look and I see they're the same length. When I'm drawing them, I may make 2/3 look like a hole. And then there is a total of 6 questions. So looking in the main part of the lesson, our essential question is, how can equivalent fractions help me add and subtract fractions? You will need your textbook at the beginning today. And this packet begins on page 645. If you don't have it right here, you should pause the video and go get it. As we engage in the lesson, it is the expectation that you will fill things in as we go onto your paper. This will create an artifact that you can look back onto as you solve the problems. So with page 645, we have Akio lives 4/5 of a mile from school. Bianca lives 3/10 of a mile from school. How much farther from school does Akio live than Bianca? Model each fraction using fraction tiles. We'll place the 1/10 tiles below the 1/5 tiles. So what are we subtracting here? We are subtracting 4/5 minus 3/10. And we need to figure out this part. So I'm going to model some jewels here. And we have the 4/5. We also have the 1/10. That's where we start with. Step 2. Find which fraction tiles will fill in the area of the dotted box. And that's going to be on our next slide here. And we will be filling in some things there. All right, so try 1/3 tiles. Do they fill the dotted box? Let's try. 1. That doesn't make it. And that goes too far. So 1/3 is not the answer. Try 1/2 tiles. Do they fill the box? It does. And then how many? Well, there's just one there. So let me bring up on the screen some spots for you to write here. Did the 1/3 tiles fill the box? No. Did the half tiles? Yes. Since 1/2, and that's that tile there, fills in the area of the dotted box, 4/5 minus 3/10 equals 1/2. Akio lives 1/2 mile farther from school than Bianca. So take a moment and fill that in. And as you're filling that in, I want you to think about how you would do this if you were doing it on paper and pencil without the fraction tiles. Today, the fraction tiles are our tool. Tomorrow, we will be moving further on without them. Wow, without them is our main way. Just still, you always use them to check. So I'll give you a moment. Once you finish filling this in, you'll turn to the top of the next page, which is 646. Just as a reminder, whenever I say I'm about to clear the screen or move on, that usually gives you about 1 or 2 seconds in order to finish writing in or pause the video, finish writing in and then unpause the video as you go. All right, I'm going to move forward. We have a new one. 3/4 minus 1/6. Model each fraction using fraction tiles. Place the 1/6 before the quarter tiles. So let's do that here, and I'll clear the previous one. And I have 3/4 in this way. So 3 of the quarter tiles equals 3/4 minus 1/6. All right. So that's what our problem is going to look like if you have the fraction tiles. Let's move forward on the screen here. And it tells us try 1/3 tiles. Do they fit the dotted box? Well, interestingly here, 1/3 and 1/6 did give us a half. Use 1/3. That's too big. So the answer to try 1/3 tiles, do they fill the dotted box? The answer is no. That's a no there, and we'll write it in a minute. Try 1/12 tiles. Do they fit in? And it really better if they're having us go all the way to the 12ths and we're not halves. Let's try. Once I got to right here and it was perfect, I start to suspect that maybe it'll work. I know that 3/12 is a quarter. And at this point, I'm going to be fairly confident out in our favor. And it does. And how many did it take? Basic, niche, Nisway, Niwin, Nanan, Good Westway, Niche Westway. So we are at 7. So let's come back to our screen where you will be writing in information. Let me get to where it's best visual. Did the 1/3 tiles fill in the dotted box? No. Did the 1/12 tiles? Yes. And how many did we say it took? 7. So when we write this, that 7 became our numerator because it's 7 times 1. 7. They're 1/12, so that stays our denominator. So 3/4 minus 1/6 is 7/12. And that's our answer. Writing those in. Move on here. Sure, pause the video if you need to. Would any of the other fraction tiles fit inside the dotted box for the first activity? And let's explain. That's the answer where we get 1/2. I mean, I'm sure if I wanted to put multiple, then sure, but otherwise, yeah. So 2/4, 3/6, 4/8, 5/10, and 6/12 would work because they're equivalent to 1/2. But I couldn't just put like any other individual piece and have it work. But what they're trying to tell you here is that if the top is half of the bottom, the numerator is half of the denominator, they're all the same. And I could model this out 2/4, 3/6, 4/8. They'd all be exactly the same length. You didn't have to write that down. Describe how you would use fraction tiles to find 1/2 minus 1/3. Well, let's describe it. Let's do it together. 1/2 minus 1/3. I would try to figure out which ones would fit. And immediately, my first thought would be to find something with a common denominator. So the least common multiple of 2 and 3 is 6. And it worked. So use the least common multiple to help decide which one you want to add in. And the book tells you to line them up. But I would have picked a 6 because the least common multiple of 3 and 2. All right, let's have you practice a couple. And this is 2/3 minus 1/6, and then 5/8 minus 1/4. At the conclusion of this moment, we will review both using the fraction tiles and see how you did. To do these problems, you should pause the video. You are welcome to use our visual fraction strips here on the virtual page, or you're welcome to use a paper copy or your own if you have them. You may pause the video, unpause the video when you're ready. Go ahead and pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see what do we have here. Let's clear the old one. 2/3 minus 1/6. I'll grab my third. What's going to fit in here? My least common multiple of 3 and 6. 3. So my final answer is going to be 3/6. And what does 3/6 equal? 1/2. So our answer in the first one is 1/2. And let's look at the other one. 5/8 minus 1/4. If you notice on the previous one, I made sure to simplify Because if you don't simplify the answer, it's going to get marked wrong. -1/4. Okay. As I look at this, this should be really easy to me. And here's why. Notice the 2 8s and the 1/4 are exactly lined up. What's left over? Basic, niche, Nisue, 3 8s. So that's already simplified. We're good to go. And you can see the visual pictures here. I could have plugged in a 1/6 piece there as well, or 1/2 piece there as well on that first one. And let's just do 2 more before I sign it. 1/2 minus 1/6 and 3/5 minus 1/2. Same thing applies. I'm pausing the video. Go ahead and pause it. I'll see you on the other side. Let me pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. Let's clear the remnants of the last one and go 1/2 minus 1/6. Well, let's see what we can do. Does a quarter work? No. Does a third work? Oh, it does. Yes. And if you remember, 2 and 3 has a least common multiple of 6. So it makes sense that they are in a family here. Our answer is 1/3, which is also 2/6. And 2/6 plus 1/6 is 3/6, which is equals to 1/2. So 1/3 is our answer. Now let's get 3/5. Oops, too far. Loaded on me. A neat trick. And minus 1/2. Okay, when I start this one, I can tell that it's going to be a smaller tile. I don't want to start with 1 or 1/2. It'd be way too big. So my next step in my thinking is, what's the least common multiple of 2 and 5? Well, it's 10. So let's pick one with a denominator of 10. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Our answer is 1/10. You are welcome again to use these fraction tiles on this assignment. I strongly encourage it. If you have physical ones, that's awesome too. And you may do such. If you have paper ones, you could use them. Although I believe this would be easier. And you can see our answers were 1/3 and 1/10. Notice I didn't go with 2/6 as an answer because that's not simplified. And we always want to simplify to the best of our ability. At this point, I'm going to dismiss you to the assignment. They give you the fraction tiles here. You won't need to simplify either of those. Then on these ones, read the question, figure out which numbers you need, and use the fraction strips that will be posted in that on this assignment. At this point, you may begin your work. If you have any questions, please reach out. Evan Menagijigad, Minwa, Bama P.